By virtue of the authority conferred on me as Vice-Chancellor, I now constitute this Assembly a congregation of the University of Cape Town.
We will now sing the national anthem. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to invite Tato Pule, the Chair of the Transformation and Social Responsiveness Desk of the SRC, to read the university dedication.
Thank you, Deputy Vice-Chancellor. The dedication reads as follows. At this time of celebration, we, the members of the University of Cape Town, reaffirm our mission to nurture rational and creative thought and free inquiry, to strive for excellence in teaching and research, to educate for life, and to address the challenges of our society. We undertake to advance these ideals in a spirit of freedom and responsibility and through consultation and debate. We celebrate our founders, benefactors, and predecessors, those who have built the fabric and nourished the values of UCT. To those of you who will graduate today, we wish you courage, wisdom, and purpose. To those of you who will leave the university to learn and work elsewhere, may you be sustained by those values which unite us here today and advance them in the world beyond. A love of truth and of learning and of this, our university. Thank you.
You may be seated. So our College of Music students have done extremely well this week. Every single performance has been absolutely memorable. So Gaudiamus, which was sung as the procession entered, and the national anthem were performed by singers from the UCT Opera School, and they were accompanied at the organ by Eben Wachenstrom, who has performed several times at the Carnegie Hall in America. And he graduated, Eben did, on Thursday the 18th, past Thursday, with 5 distinctions. Also to thank Amogelang Lebete, our tenor, who performed Una furtiva lagrima from the opera Le Désir d'amour by Gaetano Donizetti. Big round of applause for him, please. Thank you very much to our performers. Vice-Chancellor, members of Council, distinguished guests, members of the University Senate, members of staff, graduates, parents, friends, ladies and gentlemen, and also to acknowledge the presence of former Minister Trevor Manuel and Miss Maria Ramos. It's very nice to see you all here this morning. And so welcome to the Jamison Hall on the occasion of our graduation ceremony for the Faculty of Commerce and our Bachelor of Business Science graduates this morning. Special word of welcome to our splendid graduates. So just a very few words to our graduates this morning. We'd like to say to you how much we respect your achievements from the minute you made the decision to enter the competition for a place here at UCT, to the point where you're now receiving your degrees. I think you all know how intense the competition has been all the way through the process of coming to this point. We're deeply aware of the experiences of students along the way towards completing their degrees. And we now, fortunately, have relatively good data about you, not just about your marks, but we know a fair amount about how you've been managing your progress along the way. And I think we can talk with a fair degree of confidence about your experiences. We have access to journals, diaries, minutes of meetings with you, and a lot of it makes really impressive reading to see how well, parents, let me say this to you, how well they have coped. What kinds of strategies they've developed for themselves, not only to survive, but to flourish. I personally have read quite extraordinary stories about some of their working patterns and study habits. And it says a lot about them. I'd like to just give you an extract from a diary of one of our students who described his program after he had rested for the evening. This program began at 1:30 in the morning. It goes like this: 1:30, economics. 1:30 to 2:30, touch-up assignments and procrastinate. 2:30 to 3:45, read newspaper. 3:45 to 7, read Bible and then go to sleep. 7:30, he's up. To 8:10, shower and dress. 8:10 to 8:30, breakfast. 8:30 to 9 o'clock, finish editing IS assignment. 9 to 9:45, ecos tutorial. 9:45 to 10:20, print and hand in IS assignment. 10:20 to 11, read some eco and stats. Thank you. 11 to 11:45, stats lecture. 11:45 to 12, lunch. 12:45 to Tuka meeting. I'm tired. So this is quite extraordinary. And looking at the information we have, many of our students are managing their lives here at UCT like this. It's true that not every student comes to the university, and it's important to say this, with the sole purpose of hanging out and going to clubs all the time. And so this makes the university a really intense space. It is, I think, preparing young people for life. But I just want to say this to our graduates, soon-to-be graduates, soon quickly. I hope that you leave here recognizing all that there still remains for you in life. Don't be satisfied with this important milestone of achieving your degrees here today. Don't see this, even with all the immense effort you have put into this, as the climax of what you will do. Don't see this as the ticket to entitlement, to a sense of superiority, to thinking that you now have every right to just sit back and let things come to you. They won't. The hard work you began here now needs to continue into improving yourself in every way you can think of, to continue to assist in the betterment of life around you, to see yourself as operating on a stage with others in the upliftment of the poor and the disadvantaged, and making a contribution based on the 4 or 5 years that you've spent here. If you fail to do this, you'd be squandering the value of everything that you have learned here. And so on behalf of the university, I would like to congratulate all of you who are to receive your degrees or diplomas here today. We acknowledge and pay tribute to you for the considerable efforts in making this day possible. We also want to thank all of those who have stood by you in all your years. And here I'm looking at the parents. Say a big thank you to all of you parents, relatives and supporters who have made this achievement possible. Also a big thank you to our teachers sitting on the platform here, and to say that the arrival of this moment is a big day, but there's a lot more to be done. With that, Vice-Chancellor, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. Where is Mary? Mary Jane, right behind me, Mary Jane Morifi. We're very lucky to have Mary Jane come to talk to us here this morning. She completed a Bachelor of Social Science and a postgraduate degree in Sociology at the University of Cape Town, and she went on to complete postgraduate studies in Arts and Sciences at Harvard University. At an early stage in her career, she worked in the offices of the UCT Fund in New York. In both the business and non-profit sectors, Mary Jane Morifi has been a pillar of leadership and success. She has spent the bulk of her career with BP, the third largest energy company in the world, managing aspects of global operation, developing efficient supply chain models, and engaging in long-term strategic business planning. Mary Jane Morifi subsequently worked as Executive Head Corporate Affairs at Anglo-American Platinum Limited, and was a member of the Anglo-American Platinum Management Services Board. Previous appointments included Chairperson of Sukanjalo Investments, and serving as a council member of the University of the Western Cape, and serving as a trustee of the Black Sash Trust. And now I'll hand you over to Mary Jane Morifi. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't know that I had such accolades in my CV. Vice Chancellor, distinguished professors and scholars, and my fellow fee tuition-paying parents whose children and money went to UCT for the past 4 or 5 years. Friends, and most importantly, the Commerce graduating class of 2014. I am honored and humbled to stand before you today at this annual rite of passage of this extraordinary university. When I was invited to share a few comments with you, I was explicitly told by Dr. Price that as the university would like to keep congregations of this nature to under 2 hours, I only had 10 minutes to spend on my speech. Well, you don't ask a black woman-born storyteller to tell a story that spans 53 years and limit her to 10 minutes. In my culture, Professor Price, Dr. Price, 10 minutes is what we spend on greetings and pleasantries before we get into the real stuff. So my first thought was to decline the invitation, as there was no way I was going to be able to do all of this and tell a compelling story in 10 minutes, a story that would be based on my own life's journey. However, my family convinced me to accept the invitation, if not for my own sake, but for the sake of that one student that might hook on a message that might set them on the path to greatness. So I stand and I accept it. I will now fast forward to my arrival at this prestigious university nearly 33 years ago. You see, Dr. Price, I have a confession to make. I had to lie to an extremely important man, or so he thought he was. To get into this university, as a black person wishing to study at UCT, it was a requirement for me to apply to the Minister of Bantu Education. I believe it was one Dr. Piet Korenhof at the time. And I had to apply to him for special permission on the basis that the course that I wished and wanted to pursue was not available at a black university. And students and parents, I am deliberately not saying historically black university, because that term was not conjured at that time. So I wrote a letter to Piet Korenhof in Pretoria asking for permission to study microbiology. How I chose the course, I went and looked through the course curriculum of every single black university, and none of them offered microbiology. That was my savior. So you see, Piet, ek het vir oom gelieg. I lied to Piet. I never had any intention of studying microbiology. I simply wanted to exercise my right to study in the company of great scholars, black and white, on equal footing in an open, liberal academic environment, to have the same chances as anyone else at the university and in the big, wide world. So, Piet, ek het gelieg, and I took that opportunity. And what an interesting time I spent at this prestigious university. And I was ready to tell you all about it, but I told you the congregation is set to last 2 hours, and I need 2 hours to tell you that story. The experience of gaining admission and graduating from this university taught me very important lessons that continue to guide my life to this day. The university gave me an undergraduate degree in social sciences. I'm sorry, I've got no BCom in my resume. And it helped launch my career in several key ways. First, UCT gave me an opportunity to be a contributing member of the research team at SALDRU, which is in the School of Economics, with Professor Francis Wilson being part of the second Carnegie Inquiry. This time, Carnegie Inquiry looking at black poverty. And this gave me an insight into the conditions of poor farm workers and sheep shearers living in the Karoo. Second, UCT gave me an opportunity to spend a year of postgraduate study at Harvard University as a fellow, where I could explore philosophy, sociology, theories of justice, and of course, Chinese food at Harvard Square. And thirdly, UCT gave me the chance to work for the UCT Fund in New York, raising funds for students wishing to enter this university but not able to afford to do so. One of the notable students we had at that time who benefited from this scheme is none other than the advocate who is giving all those people in Marikana, Lonmin, a huge headache because he is representing the Marikana miners. The university taught me 3 important lessons: to dare the impossible, to stand confidently in the world, to go about my business, guided by love for our people and country, determination to do the right thing, and make choices that put gifts that I have been given to work for the common good. So I stand here before you today and defying expectations of the Minister of Bantu Education, and I want to express my appreciation and great gratitude to the university for the rich opportunities and the launchpad you have given me and countless others over the years. Never in my wildest dreams could I have predicted that these jobs in research, fundraising, and NGOs would eventually lead me to executive leadership positions in the world's largest oil and mining companies. When I joined BP Petroleum here in Cape Town in 1993, I was quite disappointed by what one of the world's largest oil companies was doing, or not doing, in terms of giving back to the community. At the time, the extent of its corporate social investment was little more than giving to the SPCA. Now, don't get me wrong here. I have nothing against animals. I have a beautiful, gorgeous Rhodesian Ridgeback. I have 2 stupid Basset hounds of my own. But in a land of extreme inequality and poverty, in a country not yet democratic and free at that time, I was genuinely surprised that a company of BP's standing was not a bit more imaginative in its investment in human capital. I discovered, for instance, that a number of children in South Africa were dying as a result of drinking paraffin or as a result of shacks in the fires, which were caused by paraffin stoves that fell over, drinking paraffin from bottles that were not unprotected. These are social problems that were never evident to the leaders of BP before, but it took a woman who grew up in a poor community and who knew firsthand the perils of this petroleum byproduct to innovate a solution to the social problem, the paraffin safety cap, and to start a national campaign to prevent paraffin accidents using BP funding. Developing a child-proof safety cap for all paraffin bottles used to purchase BP paraffin was good for public health. It was good for public safety. It was good for the community. But most importantly, it was good for business. It actually led to what is today PASASA, the Paraffin Safety Association of South Africa. Students, doing the right thing is good for business. It creates shared value. I have come to realize, too, that courageous choices deliver the best returns. There's a story I'd like to tell you about my time at Anglo American Platinum and how playing it safe simply wasn't good enough at the time to meet our ambition to be good corporate citizens. We realized that the traditional corporate social investment would have limited success in addressing the grinding poverty of communities affected by mining in the petroleum belt. Our traditional corporate social investments had failed to bring about lasting, sustainable change in the lives of mine host communities. We could not guarantee the livelihoods of mine workers and local supply chains after the mines were depleted. We did not create alternative employment opportunities for labor-sending communities. If we wanted to maintain our social license to operate in these deprived areas, if we wanted to comply with government socio-economic and labor planning processes, if we wanted to transform the hostile relationships between big mines and their host communities, and if we wanted to do the right thing by fellow South Africans living in poverty, then we needed bold, courageous, and innovative solutions to these very complex problems. If we wanted to position these mining host communities for life beyond life of mines, we needed to put control of their development and upliftment back into their own hands so they can drive their own long-term sustainability with the support and assistance from mining companies. The solution? We made a bold proposal to the board of directors of Anglo-American Platinum and its parent company, Anglo-American. We designed a community equity participation program to put assets in the hands of communities affected by mining. And they agreed to make available shares equivalent to nearly 3% of the company's shareholding. Now let's talk hard bucks here. We are talking about 3.5 billion rand in the hands of communities previously living in grinding poverty. This groundbreaking equity scheme, known as Alchemy, resulted in host communities and the labor-sending areas becoming the third largest shareholders of Anglo-American Platinum. Now, to ensure transparency and public accountability, we established an independent umbrella charitable trust, aptly called Lefa la Rona, our inheritance. When we established 4 development community trusts and a not-for-profit company representing the labor-sending communities. Project Alchemy has been hailed as a bold transformational program that introduced community ownership and economic empowerment at a scale never previously attempted in the mining industry. Looking back, hard as it may have been, creating Alchemy was the easy part. Turning this bold vision into a scheme that truly sets communities up for a sustainable future beyond life of mine will require leadership from men and women driven by desire to do good, the desire to serve with love, with empathy, with respect, with honesty, with integrity, and most importantly, men and women who are not only able to think from the head, but who are also very adept at feeling and acting from the heart. We need more innovative, bold solutions and decisions if we are to have any hope of addressing the growing economic inequality between rich and poor in South Africa. Oxfam said recently that 2 of the richest individuals in South Africa own the equivalent of the bottom 50%. And I read recently an article in the New York Times by Robert Frank titled "Another Widening Gap." And the title was also "The Haves versus the Have-Mores," not the have-nos, none, the have-mores. Now, Robert Frank says in the article that the wealthy now have their own wealth gap. The wealthy have their own wealth gap, with the super rich leaving the merely rich behind and creating 2 markets, one for the haves, the other for the have-mores. I don't know about you, but I think we are in serious problems if we can define individuals who own hundreds of millions as merely rich. Whatever success I have attained to this day is as a result of very generous individuals who stepped in to mentor and guide me, and sometimes in very subtle ways. whether it was the example of my mother, who sold fat cook and acha to school kids in Attridgeville to pay for my private school education, whether it was James Boulder, who was a doctor here at this university, who believed that a young township girl like me was worthy of being the youngest Harvard South Africa Fellow, or whether it was the coaching and the support from my business mentor, Fred Paswana, who's the chairman of the board of Standard Bank, and was my boss as the president of BP in Southern Africa. Whether the small-scale entrepreneur, the chairman of Africa's largest bank, we need more people who nurture young people with advice, support, and guidance. And I hope the students will grow to become those people. We need all to give back to communities from which we came. That is why I'm the chairperson of the local hospice in Attridgeville, Pretoria, where I grew up. That's why I'm a board member of the Black Sash, an organization fighting to protect the rights of the most marginalized in our community. That is why I mentor and coach young women to help them navigate what can sometimes be shark-infested waters within the large corporates. And that's why I'm currently working to help make Madiba's last wish for the children of South Africa a reality, supporting the building of a new specialist referral children's hospital in Johannesburg to serve the children of Southern Africa, the children that Madiba so loved that he actually committed and dedicated a third of his presidential salary to start and maintain the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. Remember what he said and the message he left to all of us. It is in your hands. No matter what stage you are in your career, we can all share our good fortune with others. Now, with concluding remarks, graduating class of 2014, you do not need me or anyone to tell you about the challenges that we are facing as a society, as a country, and as humanity. You don't need me or anyone. If you did need to be told this, then I would ask all your parents to demand a refund from Dr. Price, because your education here would have been wasted on you. It would have been in vain. You have demonstrated amply through your academic achievements that are being recognized here today that you are more than capable of thinking from the head. As you lift off into the real world, what will determine your success in tackling these challenges will be more than your ability to think from the head. But most importantly, it will also be your ability to feel and act from the heart. When you leave this building and this campus today to embark on your careers, just remember this: do the right thing, informed by love. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the kissy-kissy kind of love here. I'm talking about love for humanity and love for the world we live in. My generation was great at articulating the concept of Ubuntu. We sold it internationally very successfully. What we failed dismally is at living and demonstrating that through our actions and decisions, we are going to need you to win that struggle for us. As for me, the journey continues, the learning continues, and I have tried to be an example to my daughters, one of whom is sitting here in the audience today listening to this, probably just dying with embarrassment. And I want them to be able to stand in front of a gathering, not too dissimilar to this. And I want them to be able to say with pride, if we have come a long way, it's because of the efforts of many, many men, but most importantly, many women who have come before us with that great woman, our mother, in the lead. Dr. Price, thank you very much for inviting me. Now I know how it feels like to be up here, to look at those beautiful faces of young people full of hope and raring to go, but also looking and the parents who are probably saying a silent prayer and say, thank God, I'm done with paying tuition, and please God, let them get a job, any job, as long as they stop being financially dependent on me. Congratulations to the Commerce class of 2014. Go forth and stand confidently in the world, make courageous decisions, and above all, do the right thing. Thank you.
So I'm going to agree with everything that Mary Jane said, except at the last. Please, parents, we want them to continue. So for them to carry on to do master's degrees and PhDs is what we would like. And please don't stint on that. Mary Jane. So thank you very much to Mary Jane for that really wonderful message, and just to say to her personally for the example that you set now. We really appreciate that, and I'd like to ask all of us to please just say another big thank you. I now hand over to the Vice-Chancellor.
Thank you. And may I add my appreciation for the wonderful role model and for the amazing graduation address. I want to tell this graduating class, since this is the only graduation that you are attending, that this must stand amongst the best graduation addresses that I have heard in many years of graduations. You're very privileged to have been present for this particular address. We now move to the part of the ceremony where we actually call up the students and cap each one individually for their special moment, the moment at which they become a graduate. By virtue of the authority conferred upon me, I admit to the degrees specified the candidates recorded in the programs as graduating in absentia. I shall now admit to the degrees specified the candidates to be presented to me by the Dean.
Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you, for the degree of Bachelor of Business Science in Actuarial Science, with distinction in Statistics and the degree with distinction, Craig Alistair Andrews. Lloyd Stanley Balshaw. Adam John Burta. Jessica Elizabeth Davies. Ira Duzruth. Chris Erlingson. With distinction in Statistics and Actuarial Science and the degree with distinction, Darren Lee Golden. Prasheen Jagdish Gopal. Kieran Hartzenberg. Jonathan Letham Humphreys. Neha Lakshmi Jungli. Daya Lee. Shanish Almitra Madurai. Amira Mohammed Abbas. Tafadzwa Makwangudze. Jigisha Mandalia. Tapiwa Ralph Masvosva. Christopher Lindsay McPetrie. Palio Kagisho Lasogo Makwena. Kagomotso Larato Molatedi. With distinction in statistics, Lee Andre Moodley. Zafir Motala. Prinner San Munsami. Anesu Musami Rampamwe. Munyaradzi Marshall Mutema. Samantha Naidu. Marvin Lee Nair. Preston Naransamy. Kushil Deepak Natu. Mzwandile Reginald Tonga. Pilasande Nkalasha. Mlindeli Mzwandile Nkosi. Nabila Omar. Divanisha Pillay. With distinction in statistics and the degree with distinction, Christopher Douglas Roberts. With distinction in statistics, Gareth William Schumann. Anesa Tanaka Shuro. Rishav Partab Singh. Shikar Naresh Singh. Chloe Van Billion. With distinction in statistics and the degree with distinction, Justin William van der Merwe. Craig van Rensburg. Jose Benjamin Fatakono. Benjamin Robert Walwyn. Mihail Mihailov Zahariev. For the degree of Bachelor of Business Science in Management Studies, Razine Adams. Husnain Ahmed. Munawar Ahmed. Nasira Ahmed. Mohammed Fayyad Amin. Natalie Lisa Anderson. Malin Aaron Angermund. Eric George Archer. Anush Aravshatian. Joanne Leslie Armstrong. With distinction in finance, Miles Benjamin Aaron. Muhammad Ashraf Musa. Asma Ashtakar. Nidish Krishna Balaga. Jonathan Barr. Yannick Allen Bathfield. With distinction in management accounting, Dominique Ruth Battle. Wissal Bahardin. J. David Benson. With distinction in management accounting, financial reporting, and corporate governance, Nikki Barange. James Nicholas Black. Bianca Gabrielle Blankenberg. Lauren Claire Blasopoulos. With distinction in management accounting, David Francis Bradford. Faraz Bray. Alexei Brikel. Nicholas Desmond Brown. Trilby Claire Wynne Brown. Stephanie Buchanan. Amy Jan Burgess. Makwekweta Bua. Susan Cameron. Larissa Danielle Canary. Julia Olivia Kassar. Joshua Leor Kessman. Kyung Ha Chung. Rinal Chetty. Muhammad Rais Chikhta. Signori Talia Chinapan. Tamsin Lee Clark. Madeline Claire Clarkson. Richardine Kotsir. Mary Elodie Cecile Colindevelu. With distinction in management, accounting, and financial reporting, Nicholas Colley. Natasha Louise Collier. Natasha Sharita Coppin. William Derek Crawford. Daniel Victor Cudlip. Eleanor Ruth Cummings. Andrew Harry Curtis. Alexandra Helene Davis. Christopher Michael Day. With distinction in taxation, Maslolane Sidney Debele. Catherine Germaine Emmeline de Chazal. Max Harriet de la Faru. Robert Murray de Filius. Sadia Kasim Dorat. Teriro Kuziva Elliott Dodzo. Lauren Ashley Drake. Patrick Douglas Dunton. Jessica Ann Duplessis. Wesley Daniel Duplessis. With distinction in management accounting, Nicholas Clifford During. With distinction in finance, taxation, and corporate governance, and the degree with distinction, Mohammed Salman Ibrahim. Alexander Cheer Emmett. Mohammed Hussein Fakir. Andiswa Zine Fandesi. Brian William Batchelor Foray. Graham Douglas Florence. Victoria Eve Floyd. Jonathan Hambley Ford. Georgina Jane Forrest. Robert Massey Frames. Nikolai Alexander Herbert Wilhelm Freiherr von Stackelberg. Shannon Chu Li Fung. Simone Hannison. Sapna Peruska Khilwala. Megan Gillum. Nina Niambura Gitau Muchunu. Munasha Nkobile Gomwe. Alexander Dylan Gordon. With distinction in organizational psychology and the degree with distinction, Abigail Gottlieb. Christopher Michael Goff. Talia Govender. Savannah Maxine Gray. Tracy Louise Green. Lauren Claire Creasel. Andrew Ola Griniker. Chloe Dacia Hackeman. Amika Rose Hallendorf. Amy Elizabeth Hare. James Hugh Harker. Bernice Harasankar. Jacqueline Hart Davies. Naila Hashim. John Paul Howinkles. David Ross Hazel. Dylan Joe Hennick. Bonga Shlangwane. Nicholas Bambury Hobbs. Maxine Howard. Sarah Robertson Holbert. With distinction in management accounting, St. John Percival Stewart Hunter. Chervaux Kyle Huang. Robert Jeffrey Inskip. Wayne Ipfat Sayong. Nandipa Koleka Isaacs. James Andrew Ivey. Charlize Sue Jacobs. Keenan Shane Jacobs. Leonard Philip Jacobs. Ahmed Jusab. Sandeep Roy Jugu. Dalisu Wayaki Jwara. Melissa Roxanne Khan. Jonathan Ellis Kaimowitz. Lubna Kamruddin. Jihad Karambizi. Matthew Roger Kebbel. With distinction in financial reporting, management accounting, and corporate governance, Kumo Kibin. Bhavna Nidhi Kirodur. With distinction in management accounting and financial reporting, Dylan Alistair Keith. David Andrew Kemp. Lesedi Rafilwa Kaka. Tashreeq Khan. James Anthony Kaiser. Glenn Mark Monga Casella. Kudakwashe Lovejoy Korovedzai. Emil Koshi. Nicholas Kotler. James Newton Laird Smith. Michael Ivan Lazard. With distinction in finance, Simon Lockhart Ross. With distinction in financial reporting, Claire Elizabeth Lofthouse. Kamira Lachman. Tato Mabudusha. Daniel Macklop. Miska Marat. Mankoba Madonsela. Sisipo Siasibulela Mafanya. Nitesh Magan. Sinjin Maestri. Makamoto Kugomotso Malele. Jamie Manuel. Emma Rose Murray. Renato Massimo Marchesini. Ketekani Mashele. Sizwe Mveli Mashinini. Osier Matthews. Labone Mbuti Matuna. Tabo Arnold Mavundla. Senamile Claris Zukili Mazubane. Tinotenda Clarice Mbizi. Tendai Ramona Mbumbwa. Adria Ann McClure. Liesl Carol McKenzie. With distinction in management accounting, financial reporting, and taxation, Ryan Adam Mendelson. With distinction in management accounting, Tim Tickton Mercorio. Kevin Gareth Mayer. Julia Ann Mitchell. Timothy Alistair Mitchell. Notolo Nonjambulo Sitabile Mlambo. Tabelo Naledi Modise. Samira Muhammad. With distinction in management accounting, finance, financial reporting, and taxation, Carlin Moodley. David Rafe Morgan. Stacy Lee Morley Jepson. Christopher James Morris. Zinat Mauser. Mnoto Mchali. Somik Mukherjee. With distinction in Management Accounting and Financial Reporting, Caitlin Beth Mullins. Travis Munthry. With distinction in Management Accounting, Finance, Financial Reporting, Taxation, and Corporate Governance, and the degree with distinction, Carolyn Louise Murray. Tato Ralabahile Muzo. Aditi Heidi Ann Naidu. Doracia Naidu. Laris Krishnaswamy Naidu. Stephen Naidu. William Dean Naidu. Sapna Kayati Naik. With distinction in Management Accounting, Kahar Nerismulu. Samir Nerotam. Reina Natu. Somalezi Nkladana. Samantha Ruth Ndiwalana. Francois Neertling. Uakona Nemushungwa. Kumbelo Navorwa. Ilwane Renee Nebutalu. With distinction in finance, financial reporting, corporate governance, and taxation, Hugh Rhys Newton-Hill. Mbalenhle Ngubana. Raymond Tendai Napi. Catherine Ann Nichas. Tegan Emma Norkier. Tyron James Oatley. Sharon I. Jangulet Ogwang. Sarah Jane Oldert. Alakaname Raphael Ole Miludi. Zakaria Omarji. Linda Oniwe. James Edward Osner. Robin Ozinski. Sharad Paramal Parbu. Danielle May Yvonne Parkfeld. Killen Pather. John Rees Parrott. Matthew Peters. Ntomfuti Zesuliwe Ralph Pakati. Ruth Pakati. With distinction in finance, financial reporting, corporate governance, and taxation, Alice Martha Farrow. Bianca Robin Philigen. DiConcatio Ruth Pasoko. Neil Dion Pinar. Susan Peterson. Veronica Petrusik. Darusha Pillai. Kavasan Pillay. Lavanya Pillay. Naila Pillay. Kate Frances Pitcher. With distinction in management accounting, Barry David Povey. Cabello Mantoba Pule. Matthew Hutley Pulford. Keegan Michael Ra. With distinction in financial reporting, Glenn Rabinowitz. With distinction in corporate governance, Pila Ralarala. Ashil Ram. Benjamin Daniel Roth. Tom Raviv. Richard Servatius Robbins. Sinivoyo Rodolo. Carolyn Chepkirui Rono. With distinction in management accounting, financial reporting, and corporate governance, Colin James Ross. With distinction in management accounting, Emily Cara Rossler. Dean Jonathan Roxburgh. Caitlin Amy Russell. Adriano Manuel Salgado. Tasneem Samuddin. Simone Sampson. Sean Andrew Sanders. Omrit Sarangi. Nabiha Syed Osmani. Alessandro Scarcella. Ahmed Yusuf Sidat. Amrit Sagar Sharma Suraz. Pragati Sharma. Imbereni Esther Shatiwa. Kimrin Katie Sherwood. With distinction in management accounting, Ubaha Nalego Merjam Shapoka. Davy Richard Siam. St. John David Simpson. Ryan David Siney. Avishkar Singh. Urvashi Singh. Kwame Asamoah Sipoko. Candace Smith. Catherine Jean Smith. Matthew Daniel Smith. Taryn Kim Smith. With distinction in marketing, Chesney Sneyd. With distinction in corporate governance, Nikita Analisiwe Sokopo. Asandele Nolutando Sondiazi. Ibrahim Southgate. Rowan Douglas Pazzoli. Ulrich Alexander Standar. Reinhard Stander. Joanna Iwona Stewicka. With distinction in management, accounting, and financial reporting, Rainer Steinhagen. Clyde William Vincent Stevens. Sinead Stewart. With distinction in Management Accounting, Finance, and Financial Reporting, Brendan Andre Stain. Tamarisk Emma Stronach. Peter Frederick Stradum. With distinction in Management Accounting, Karina Subramanian. Muhammad Suleiman. Morakane Talajane. Medila Mary Thomas. With distinction in Management, Accounting, and Finance, Joanne Frances Tilley. Cesare Owen Tobias. Mlaole Tonisa. With distinction in corporate governance, Megan von der Linde. Hafiz van der Ras. With distinction in Management, Accounting, Finance, Financial Reporting, Taxation, and Corporate Governance, and the degree with distinction, Blair Jan van der Walt. With distinction in Management Accounting, Kyla van der Westhuizen. Donna Lee van Dijk. With distinction in Marketing, Chelsea Varkel. Robin Villion. Matteo Henio Viotti. With distinction in finance and financial reporting, Guy Stephen Wagenvoorde. With distinction in finance and financial reporting, Grant John Walker. Alexander Boyd Waller. With distinction in management accounting, Shirley Grace Ward. Daniel Charles Wan. With distinction in management accounting, finance and financial reporting, Julianne Claire Webb. With distinction in management accounting, finance and financial reporting, Amy Wilson. Richard David Wilson. Quinn Russell Waub. With distinction in management accounting, Catherine Wolk. Luke Jerome Wood. Nathan Grant Ridgway. Sandiswa Tipu. Daniel Mark Yatch. Han Ju Yen. Sandisiwe Eletu Yengeni. Blessing Zhu. For the degree of Bachelor of Commerce in Economics and Statistics, Nomangaliso Foretold Gondwe.
The last candidate who just went across, who happens to have been the last SRC president, reminds me of the fact that many of you crossing the stage, I recognize from your participation in the sports teams of the university, the societies, the development organizations, Shoko and Ubunye and Township Debating League, from the many societies, participation on the House committees, and it reminds me of the need to emphasize to the parents present that while we're only really recognizing the degree with the certificate here this morning, the education that they have achieved here has been a well-rounded education, one which has placed important emphasis on exactly the sorts of things that our guest speaker, our graduation speaker, was speaking about earlier this morning. They are the values of giving back, of making a commitment, a concern with social justice, with an inclusive society, a concern with recognizing that being part of this really elite group that has made it first into UCT and then made it into the BCom and Bachelor of Business Science degrees and then graduated and had all these opportunities. This very special group has therefore a huge responsibility. With that privilege comes responsibility to give back. You will find on your seats, in fact, brochures about some of the university's priority needs, and I urge you to take seriously the words of our guest speaker and to fill in those pledge forms as you start your first job, so that you become part of this broader community, this family that constitutes the convocation of the University of Cape Town. As you graduate today, you become members of that convocation. The convocation performs a special role in providing continuity from the past through the present to the future. It does so through remaining in touch with the governance of the university. The convocation elects 6 members to the council, the governing body of the university, which in turn appoints the senior staff and annually approves budget and strategy. You elect the Chancellor of the university, you elect the President of Convocation, and through that you exercise a guiding hand over the university's future. And you protect the asset, which is your degree, by protecting the reputation of the university. In order for you to do that, we need to keep in touch with you. We will send you quarterly newsletters, an annual alumni magazine. We will hold reunions. If you're living in other countries and other cities, we will visit you there and have where you can join the chapters of UCT alumni and maintain the connection. We have issued you with a UCT email address for life, and we urge you also to ensure that as you move jobs, as you acquire other email addresses, you ensure that your email is forwarded to you so that we can remain in touch, send you the ballot forms, send you the newsletters. And indeed, as you achieve great things, invite you back one day to be a graduation speaker in your own right on this platform. I'm sure you will want to show your appreciation to your loved ones in the audience who have made financial sacrifices and have supported you emotionally and psychologically through this 4 or 5 or 6 years of study. So I invite you graduates to stand up and make eye contact with your families in the audience and wave your scrolls at them and show them your appreciation for what they have done for you. And in spite of your hard work and the support you've had from family and friends, I don't think you would be where you are today without the support and leadership of the academics of the university, your teachers who are represented on the stage. I invite you to show your appreciation to them too. And I want to add my thanks to the academics, but also to the support and professional staff of the university, who in fact constitute twice as many people as there are academics in the university, which signals just how important they are, from the parking attendants, people who run the finances and HR, to the people in the residences, the student affairs, thousands of people who make this university run smoothly and make it a great institution. And let's give them a hand of applause as well. So well done, graduates. As our speaker said, go out, change the world, do great things. We're very proud of what you've achieved today.
Thank you very much, Vice-Chancellor. So all that remains is to say a very big thank you to all of you for having joined us in making this celebration as enjoyable as it has been. So let me remind you about what's going to happen now. So the Vice-Chancellor will dissolve the congregation in a moment, at which we would ask you to please stand. The first row of the platform party will lead the procession out, followed by our graduates, after which then the next row of academic members of staff will come, and then we invite all of you to make your way right down, please, to the plaza and not to congregate on the steps. Thereafter, please join us for refreshments in the Leslie Social Sciences building, which is about 2 buildings down the road. Thank you very much. I hope that you all have a good break, that you travel safely, those of you who have driven from afar to come to be here at the ceremony in Cape Town. And I'd now like to hand over to the Vice-Chancellor to bring our proceedings to a close.
By virtue of the authority conferred on me, I now dissolve this congregation of the University of Cape Town.